MUKETE, and today Guillaume Oyono Mbia. Our hearts go out to the country for the great loss and to the bereaved families in particular. Part of Press Hour today will be a tribute to some of them. And on Press Hour today, our focus will be on the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest. And we have coined our topic as such. Crisis in the Northwest, Southwest. Where are the elite? The contribution of the elite in each country determines how development, political and otherwise, can go on. We are questioning where the elite are to play their role and make sure that we see the end of the tunnel in the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest. And to talk about this topic, we have three gentlemen with us here in the studio. I begin with you, Roland Kweti, teacher. Roland Kweti, teacher, is an expert in governance. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Kylian. Thank you. It's a pleasure, wonderful pleasure being here with you guys.
I think you should have some other portfolio that I'm not talking about.
Yeah, Roland Kweti, teacher, is a board member, Transparency International Cameroon. And he's a member of the anti-corruption unit at the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications as well.
Our pleasure.
He's a writer too.
And then next to you, also next to me, is Dennis Nkemlemo. He is an elite from the Southwest region. I should state emphatically that he is a political elite for that matter. And he is also the National Secretary, Communication Secretary of the Social Democratic Front Party. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Kylian. It has always been a pleasure for me to be on this your program. I wish that we will be able to educate our viewers on some of the issues that will be raised in the course of this program.
Thank you very much. Of course, that's why you are here. We have Tiemoncho, that's Joe Tiemoncho, is a senior journalist in CRTV. One of our colleagues here. He is a regular panelist here on Press Hour. Joe, welcome to the program.
It is my pleasure, Kylianda, and I think that we shall be able to share a number of ideas for the attention of our viewers, and it is always a pleasure for me to be part of this good idea.
Yes, I always make fun of your name because that's your name. Can we have your full name?
Oh yes, if you love the traditional title, you can call it for Tamanjomo Tanting Tani for Pandang Grishimo for Tiu for Shisharan Chusheka.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
You see why I insisted on him getting that name straight, because I could not even imagine trying to, I would only end up assassinating that name. Thank you very much, gentlemen,
You're
for
welcome.
being here. We're going to set the program rolling with week in review in our slot. Press review, as usual, done for us by Emanuela Vemni. Emanuela, what did the paper say this week?
Newspaper columns are flooded with news on the demise of Cameroon's first ever cardinal, His Eminence Christian Tumi, at 91. Tumi, the people's cardinal, dies on the horizon. To the Post, Apostle of Peace, Justice, Cardinal Tumi goes home after refusing to be evacuated for medical attention. Then the nation mourns an outstanding prelate, Christian Cardinal Tumi, on Cameroon Insider. The Voice writes, Primos inter pares, prelate delivers last homily. The paper says God's great servant joins College of Heavenly Saints on memorable day of Catholic faith. To the Star, Christian Cardinal Tumi departs 24 hours after Good Friday. Then the Sun brings to the fore the account of Christian Cardinal Wigan Tumi's life and struggles, saying the prelate died without seeing his most cherished federation. But Bia remains mute as Pope Francis Frundi come to eulogize Cardinal Tumi on Newswatch. Then President Paul Biya eulogizes Tumi at long last on municipal updates, just when Biya's condolence message is seen as violated by the Herald Tribune. The Guardian Post questions if Tumi's departure signifies a broken bridge between Anglophones and Francophones. At a time, floating of Cardinal Tumi's corpse on the internet outrages the nation. On the Eden, with nurse and doctor who attended to him picked up by the police, while public health boss calls for investigation. Archbishop MUKETE then urges Christians on Easter to respect the dead. On the Herald Tribune, adieu to me. The Chronicle Times salutes. Then, death also snatches a government member. Minister Halim Ayatu dies on the Guardian Post as Cameroon's renowned traditional practitioner Dr. Dewa dies on the Herald Tribune. At a time, dying kidney patients protest, disrupt traffic in Yaoundé as dialysis kits run out of stock on the Guardian Post. The Post quotes one of the kidney patients, 15 of us have died within days. Happening when many continue to die in the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions. 5 are shot dead in Bangui for selling to military, writes The Sun. The UN humanitarian coordinator then condemns attack on UN convoy by non-state armed groups in Ikata village, southwest region. On The Voice, General Elokobi Daniel's residence is set ablaze by separatist fighters. On The Star, in the face of this, the Guardian Post reports that UN Security Council sees Anglophone crisis not on agenda anytime soon. But Britain joins France on calls for inclusive dialogue to resolve Anglophone crisis on Newswatch. Government then risk losing IMF funding over failure to resolve Anglophone crisis on the Guardian Post. Government and health professionals want vaccine against COVID-19 on Cameroon Insider, when the National Communication Council slams sanctions on media houses and professionals. On the same paper, suspected Amber fighters then kidnap Bamenda DDR official as UN says gender inequality major obstacle to Cameroon's development. Road accident leaves 6 dead in East region. At a time, ace retired journalist Joe Chebonken Kalabopse wins prestigious sports award. Let's now end our press review with the story on the post-weekender, where after returning to the palace, the Nfon calls for reciprocal forgiveness. His Royal Highness Sembinglo was received by a crowd in his palace in Bui division of the Northwest region, who were happy to have the paramount ruler of the Nso people back after a long period of absence. But as the population rejoiced, separatist fighters did not receive the news well. Few minutes after the Fon's speech to the population, a locally fabricated explosive planted at the courtyard of the palace exploded, wounding some civilians. Kumbu has remained one of the hotbeds of the crisis in northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
Thank you very much, Emanuela. Thank you once again, lady. And from the press review, you must have gathered the relevance of our topic today: crisis in the northwest and southwest. Where are the elites? Where are members of the elite? Where are you to play your role and make sure that we put this behind us? And we got activities of the war in the Fon's Palace, an explosive device that went off, injuring 6. We also hear of the DDR member in Bamenda having been kidnapped within the week. We have heard also that the general's house in a village in the southwest was destroyed completely. That is in Manyo Division. We have equally learned from that press review that 5 were killed in the northwest. Simply, their sin is that they sold to the military. That war is still on. We are asking, where are the elite? We know many other people are supposed to play their own role to make sure that this war ends. The senseless war ends. And that's what we're going to be talking about today with our panelists introduced already. We are going, gentlemen, to define what, according to you, is who is an elite. We're beginning with you, civil society, you, Kweti Roland. You are of the civil society, you are involved in governance. Sure. Who to you is an elite?
An elite is that person that's in the simplest form, that person who talks on behalf of the people, the region from where he comes from. That he talks on behalf of the community. He talks for the community. He talks on their behalf. He tells the ruling, the ruling class, that's the real situation. He paints a picture of his community to the ruling class.
Yes, well, I'm going to ask you more questions on that because you're just limiting it at talking. Who is an elite, Dennis?
Well, I think that, in my humble opinion, an elite is an individual who has distinguished himself among a people and who carries out actions that impact the lives of the people, is a visionary that the people can depend on to move ahead. So an elite to be an elite, you should be impacting the lives of the people very positively, and that impact can be created at a level of economical level, a level of education that is opening the minds of the people, trying to guide the people not to fall into traps and problems that they will ordinarily fall without somebody leading them. So an elite, in a nutshell, is some sort of a leader.
Now, who will you say an elite is, Joe?
Killian, an elite in a given community should be someone who is enlightened, someone who can lead the cause of the community, and someone who is involved in the development process of that given community. And so the elite members of the elite have the responsibility of carrying on development within their given community. And here we are talking about the elite in the political class who certainly would have created the enabling environment for development to take place. Yeah,
thank you. You're defining elite from a global perspective, and I like that. We have intellectual elites. We have elites of some other domains of life. But from what you have given me as definitions of the elite, you've not talked now about the fact that some elites that we have today, they do not impact exactly as Dennis said. They do not carry out the development the way you have said, Joe, and they do not intercede, if you like MUKETE said, that is to talk for the population, for the people they represent. Now, given that that is what we take as elite, are our elite playing their role?
I want to say, Joe, that
specifically, because we are speaking within a context, the crisis.
The aren't. I want to tell you that the foiling of the Anglophone crisis, Joe, is
rather Killian.
Joe,
Killian.
Yeah, Joe is there.
Joe,
yes.
Killian. I'm saying that this crisis was foiled by our elites. I said the elite is that person who talks on behalf of a community. He talks, he's like the carrier. He carries the voice or the vision, the view of a community to the ruling class. But then, when this crisis started, we all know, we all heard them, we saw them doing it. They said there was no Anglophone problem. Today, Killian, you still call it a crisis. I would not call it a crisis. It's not a crisis anymore. It has gone beyond that. It's a war. There's a war in the northwest and the southwest region. I think we should call that spade the spades. And this is just due to the...
If you wish, armed conflict.
In an armed conflict, a war, an armed conflict, I don't know if there's a difference between a war and an armed conflict, but I think maybe the two are synonyms.
In the war, you know your adversaries strictly.
Well, there is a war they call guerrilla war. In such a war, it's very difficult to know who your adversary is, which is exactly what is happening in the northwest and southwest.
Yeah, what we're talking about.
So I want to say that our elites have failed woefully. They have failed woefully. And the very elites, that's even where the big problem is. Those very elites who said there was no problem in the northwest and southwest regions are the ones coming up today with proposals, with solutions that they want to solve the problem. Meanwhile, they have refused the existence of any such a problem. And then, not just that, you know, in governance, we usually
before you go to governance, to go to the next point, you yourself, when you say our elite, generally speaking, Don't you think that you are exaggerating? That
I'm not exaggerating.
They are members of the elite.
Let me tell you something, Killen. Let me tell you something. We heard of the reconstruction program that came up a few months back. I think our elites, if they were really there to talk on our behalf, were not supposed to have led the government into such a mistake. That program was championed, I think, sponsored by the United Nations Development Program. If our elites were doing their work, they were supposed to tell the government that no, this is not time for reconstruction. You don't construct during a war. You don't construct when people are still going through such miseries and frustrations on the ground.
Again, on that, there are people who have been living in the nearby bushes. There are people who have been living, you have 5 to 10 to 20 people in one room. Don't you think that simultaneously they can be looking for ways to stop the war while settling some of these people? Because actually it is not in every part of the country where you have seriously
accommodating the internally displaced.
Yes.
I feel so bad when you come. I even forgot extending say greetings to them because I live with them here in Yaoundé. They're out there in Douala. I mean, you need to see there's a level of misery that in which these children live. I mean, especially the youth.
That is correct. We are talking about those who are in Bamenda, in the northwest and southwest.
I am from
areas.
I am from
areas.
Get
it right. I'm getting you from your word.
Don't tell me there is a place where there is peace, Mr. Joe. In Bamenda, if you go to Bamenda now, you see taxis going around the streets. You see people going around their normal activities. But no one can tell because in the next 5 seconds, the atmosphere becomes something different.
The last question to you, by your standard, aren't you an elite? Are you saying you, like your colleagues, elites, have failed?
Like the other members of the elite?
Yes, like other members of the elite.
He said an elite is somebody who has distinguished himself. But I will not say that. I will not define an elite with that. I will say an elite is that person, but it is stratified. I'm not yet within that scope, that level, where I can talk with decision makers. So my voice can only, my voice cannot actually matter. We can only expose some of those atrocities, those problems as we are doing right now. But if it comes now to taking serious decisions, like when they say the people's problem is food, they should carry bags of rice to them, matrices, and do reconstruction, I cannot. I don't think I have that voice.
I have the impression that in your village meetings, you are considered as an elite.
For sure. The Pinyin community in Yaoundé sees me as an elite. But I am saying that
then you are pushing it to other elites.
My voice, I'm talking here to the elite who is very, very close to the ruling class. Those people who are consulted before major decisions are taken, major decisions concerning the crisis.
Thank you very much. I will come back to you now that you are an elite and then ask what you have done because all of us are involved. Yes, Dennis, what have our elite not done according to you in this crisis? And to tell you the truth, where are they?
I think to evaluate what the elite have done and what they haven't done, it is very important to first of all know what the responsibility in this crisis is and what the problem is. With that, you will see that the problem that led to a crisis, that further led to a war that my brother just said, is a problem of outright marginalization of Anglophones and the fact that the terms which brought us together had been violated repeatedly and with a certain impunity that is unimaginable. Now, having said that, where were the elite when these violations were going on? Right up to the point that it led to a crisis, which led to a war. In order to examine that, I would say there are 3 categories of elites that we find faced with this monster that has affronted us. Mm-hmm. The first category of elites are those with the zeal, very strong zeal, to nip this crisis in the bud by trying to make their voices heard, that they have to attack the root causes of the problem in order to solve this crisis.
Before you continue, you don't need to lose sight of the fact that the crisis started as socio-professional issues raised by lawyers and teachers.
Yes,
and so it took many people unaware, and even the members of the elite.
Joe, I don't think that it will be complete if we narrow what was going on in the Northwest and Southwest to 2016. The crisis, it was a result. The crisis was a result of that long-term marginalization. So I'm looking at the role of the elite.
He is extending the role of the elite to the period before the strike that led to this war.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I said there are three categories. Yes. If you allow me to develop
that. Go ahead.
There are three categories of people. Those who have want to attack the problem from the root causes and are vigorously pushed for a dialogue and an examination of that problem from the root causes, among which we have Cardinal Tumi, may his soul rest in peace. We have His Excellency Nijon Frundi. We have Balan Congo, and many other Anglophones that I can cite here. We have Archbishop Kea Andrew, who have come out very forcefully to say that there is no way we can handle this problem without going to the root causes and sitting around the table and be sincere. The second category of elite,
should be the third?
I've just described the first category of elite. The second category of elite we have in the Southwest and Northwest are the people, the elites that have, with the union between Cameroon, the two Cameroons, English-speaking and French-speaking, they have had certain privileges, which they find that a sincere and honest resolution of the crisis will lead them losing those privileges that some don't have. And that is why we have some Anglophone elite who have come out and said unabashedly that we don't even have a problem. And we have had Anglophones elite who have come out, and anything that the Yaoundé regime says, whether it's against Anglophones or about Anglophones, they clap. We have had some with good faith. I want to name the Prime Minister, who, when he just took office, the present Prime Minister, we had the impression that he had that zeal and went to Bamenda.
Was it an impression?
I say we have the impression. We had the impression because when he, after Bamenda and Southwest and Northwest, where he went to say that this problem has to be solved, as he was saying that down there, one of his ministers was contradicting him in France. But it's like he has cowed out because of forces adversary to his stand. Then we have the third category of elite.
To say that he has cowed out, that doesn't sound right, because they are still working on that.
You know, I read from the reality. From the practical reality.
The third
I don't
get to the third before we get back to some of those aspects.
The third category of elite are those whom I can qualify, both intellectual, political, cultural elite, that I can qualify as fence-sitters, who don't want to dare and who just want to be at their quiet corner. These are the three categories of elite, and the most dangerous of this category of elites that I've mentioned are those ones who are fighting for the status quo because they have gone as far as sponsoring armed groups on the ground.
These are things
that...
How can the fence sitters let us begin from the
I didn't know that I have a formidable adversary on the other side in Joe.
No, but I was simply saying that for you to say that some members of the elite are sponsoring, it is said you cannot prove that. How do you prove it?
You see, these are things we all know. But when they come out publicly, we say, "Can we prove that?"
No,
we have. You can't prove that. I am telling you, this is not the moment to theorize here. This war will keep going on.
No, we are talking about people who can help in resolving the present situation.
And that is why I have given you just a minute. That is why I have given you clearly three categories of elites, and for this crisis to be resolved, the category of elites who enjoy the status quo and promote the status quo must repent. and come back to their senses. And then those who are sitting on the fence.
What we are saying is more of theory than practice. How do they repent? Because we are talking of a situation that has gone out of control.
You're going to contribute.
Yes,
you are not asking him questions. This is what we are talking about.
Yes.
You've come to this table,
Yes.
this debate table,
Yes.
to actually show us where those elites are, and we are going to ask you
Yes.
to tell us what these members of the elite can do, what role they can play to make sure that we get out of it. Joe has not spoken yet.
Okay.
Yes, Joe, where are these elite?
The reality is that the crisis from the onset shocked many of these members of the elite and took a handful of them unawares, whether you put them in the first, second, or third categories per the prescription of Mr. Nkemlemu. What is certain is that the genesis of the matter was such that you least imagine it was going to take the magnitude it has taken. Because when you get to the remote causes, you must underscore the fact that teachers led their complaints, lawyers did, and at the end of it, the complaints were transformed into a new state that they call Ambazonia, which was least anticipated. And so how do you now transform the socio-professional issues into the independence of a nation that wasn't? And when it came as a shock to the members of the elite, many of them escaped from home, even the traditional leaders. They could not find their feet on the ground because not only was it an armed conflict, the killing is at random. And in some cases, people even settle scores. There are some funds who have left their fondoms or chiefdoms, if you permit that coinage, fondom, simply because there are biases and hatred, and their brothers who imagine that by the breadth of the head they miss the throne, they can now come back and unseat the person who is there to become funds. It might be by killing him or assassinating him. And so these issues are such that have shocked members of the elite. And they should be able to muster the courage to face the challenges of the time. A handful of them have held meetings. I can cite that of Ngokotunja Development and Cultural Association to see how they can re-establish order in the society. And it is a precarious situation because people who are not supposed to hold arms are already holding arms, but the courage should not be absent.
Now, share with us, you are an elite in that community you have just cited. Is it only ending at the level of holding meetings, or you dare? What we are talking about is when you hold a meeting in Yaoundé or wherever you are taking asylum.
Right.
Where these fighters are, in the villages, in the bushes, people know. Except I'm making a mistake.
No, you are right.
I didn't want to interrupt him, even though he keeps interrupting me.
No,
because
you can
the smoothness of the conversation. The smoothness
I don't
of
imagine
the
coming from you.
Courage. We need to muster courage in order to
courage,
meet those.
Courage means meet those fighters.
Yes.
Because when somebody is kidnapped, there are transactions. That's a fact, and the person is released. The community that held the meeting and you are part of it, you are a member of that elite.
Right.
Did you enter the meeting?
No.
Or?
I would say it is not enough to take the resolutions, but better to implement the decisions that have been taken during the meeting of the members of the elite. And that is where I hinge on the necessity for courage to be mustered, to talk to those who are in the bushes, because they are our children, they are our brothers and sisters. We can reach out to them, but that fear is still there, that they cannot get to the field and talk to them. And so we should be able to transcend fear and get to concrete action by meeting those who are holding arms in the field.
Yes.
I wanted to say something.
Yes.
You were asking when Dennis spoke of people sponsoring and elite sponsoring these guys on the field.
Yes, just briefly. Briefly, and you go, because we have come past that stage. We are talking now about what should be done. Yeah, briefly.
I just want to say that nowadays it is not strange when we have crocodiles in the village, for example. Money is given to these boys in order for you to come bury your corpse, especially from the political elites. Most of those who left the village years ago because of this crisis, for them to come back, they pay some money. if maybe one of theirs, a loved one, dies, in order to go and bury their corpse. That happens within my community, and I know that's how it happens elsewhere. Then, the role of the elites, as I told you, in governance, there's a phrase we say state capture. State capture. When the state is captured, the elite tends to legislate in such a way that the laws now come to suit personal interest and not the general interest. So Cameroon, where we are, I think we should not mince our words. This state has been captured by the elites, and the population, that's the common man's voice, is apparently not heard. That's why I said the elite has failed.
I don't see any problem with the elite. If it's the elite
that
should captures
simply
the state,
look at it ought to be.
Look at it. If the elite captures the state, they should actually use that power to solve the problems that are.
The problem now is, where is the political will there in the very first place? Don't forget that there are people who are growing fat from this war. There are many of them. I'm saying that when this stuff started, it was something that the head of state, just with a smooth outing, that's a loving, that's come out and there with some loving words, could have quelled it all down. But
he has called on them to lay down their arms.
But no, that is
as
not.
We speak, no. As we speak, he's created the DDR.
The National Grand Dialogue,
and the National Coordinator, as we speak, is in Bamenda. He was there yesterday. And
his collaborator was kidnapped the other day.
Yeah, that is part of it.
And then elites will tell us that the head of state has won the war. Now, that is where the problem is.
See, this is what we want is, if the elites,
I think it
to
is
use
an
your words,
statement for someone
to use
say
your words,
war is won, because both ways
to use your words, Mr. Kweti,
yes,
that the elite has captured the state.
Yes.
Do you know that the world is governed by a few
elites?
People? Do you know that?
I spoke
and that they decide what happens. Now, our question now is, why can our elite, if they have captured, as you say, not decide positively and play their role, go down there in one way or the other and make sure that we get out of this?
You are very correct. That's a wonderful question there. But now that trust between the elites and the people, that there seems to, that bridge between the elites and the people seems not to be there again. That is why the elite himself, in order to go down to Bamenda, to Kumba and all that, you see them inside military vest, okay? That bridge, that trust, that social contract that links that's the government with the governance. It's no longer a holding. That's they say the center is collapsing.
Now that's the problem. What's the solution?
So to me, the solution is that a new class of elites is needed. A new class of elites that will speak for the people, that will speak objectively, that will tell the ruling class that's what the situation, that's the realities on the ground. Not someone who will say the war has been won, meanwhile in a military vest and all, bulletproofs and all the like that, but at the same time saying it has been won. If you have a wound today, killing, and if you want that wound to be healed, you go to the hospital, you say you have a headache. The medical doctor might prescribe drugs for headache to you, and you may end up with your leg being amputated.
Now, how can our elite better play their role to make sure that we come out of the mess in which we find ourselves?
The elite should play their role.
Which
is to be messengers of the people to those who oppress the people, and not the messenger of the oppressor to the people. I'm very disappointed when we talk of local communities meeting to find out how they can bring normalcy in a particular community, be in Goketunja, be in the BLM, because this issue is not a tribal village community issue. This issue is a movement that has taken the whole of southern Cameroons, northwest and southwest. It's a serious political issue that movement is struggling to say that the Northwest and Southwest has to be an independent nation. So it is not for us to sit in our little communities and try to say that let there be peace in Lebielem, let there be peace in Fako.
Now,
so listen, this is extremely important.
Come again. We are going for the solution to the problem, and you are going for more of that problem.
The diagnosis, listen, the solution, I'm telling you that this, when you divert, first of all, when you start from limiting, be so reductive to limit this issue to 2016. You missed the point completely.
No, that's not what we are saying.
2016 was
that's not what we are saying.
If you can let me develop
you are talking
my point.
about two nations, but we have
I
one
am
nation.
I am saying that whether anybody likes to hear it or not is a factual truth, that there is a movement for a separate nation. And that movement has engulfed the whole of Northwest and Southwest.
Yeah, the whole
where
of
you
Northwest
don't
and
go
Southwest,
there. Listen, please. Let me. I think you invited me here to talk.
There is a crisis. There is a crisis, because in that crisis, you
don't. What is your interest in me not developing my point?
The point is that you are not reading a Bible.
I am not reading a Bible solution. The point is, you cannot propose solutions when you don't diagnose the problem.
But if you start,
you must first
diagnosis have been done.
This is what I'm saying.
The problem
this is what I'm saying.
Dennis,
you will continue. You will continue.
Yes.
This is what I am saying. You say the whole of Northwest, Southwest, as if everybody who comes from there has been taken. That's not a fact.
I think
it is not a fact.
Let us not philosophize here. When I say, please, let us not philosophize here. Except you want to listen, statistically, please. Except you want to contradict the Prime Minister, head of government, who came out and declare that government has declared Southwest and Northwest economically disaster zone because of the intensity of the crisis.
Yes.
Let us move on, please. If I am
saying that,
I want to state categorically here that I'm not
the intention of the PMC to reveal.
I want to disassociate myself from the national hypocrisy.
You are reading.
National hypocrisy that will be organized in Yaoundé.
Please.
Because I face the facts on the ground.
Let us face the facts.
Listen to others.
No, the problem is that nobody wants to listen to me.
No, because
when I take the microphone, I'm not being able to
like anything. Let us look at the Prime Minister.
And when you speak, did I interrupt you?
No, listen.
No. But when I take the microphone, you don't want me to say
the idea is not smooth. When the idea is not smooth, should it not be strengthened?
I am not always. Look at what.
No, when the idea is not smooth, it should be strengthened.
Well, that's an option. That's an option. I will not.
You expect me to say all the way you like to hear?
No, you have a right to your opinion. You have a right to your opinion.
You don't also want us to think that you are reading the Bible and we are only following.
Let me speak and you react.
Listen.
I have not said anything.
For example, you have quoted the Prime Minister's declaration.
In reaction to your incessant interruption. That was not my point. The point I wanted to develop.
Even there,
it was a reaction to your incessant interruption.
Even there, you have not.
He cannot when I don't even have the chance to talk.
He cannot summarize when he interprets a statement not the right way. You are interpreting the Prime Minister's.
I was reacting to your incessant. That was not the point I took the floor to develop. You gave me no chance.
No, because you give.
Why do you give me the floor and you don't want me to?
The fact is that your idea was not smooth. He was telling the idea because it was not smooth.
Let me speak my rubbish. I take responsibility for the rubbish that I was speaking.
No,
you call it rubbish.
We should not allow an unwitting garden to grow seeds.
Listen, Joe, he has to continue.
This is terrible.
He has to continue, but we have to state facts that. If you go out there,
what have I said that is not factual?
Killen, will you permit me say something?
What have I said that is not factual?
For example, since Cameroonians are watching us, I would say by saying that Northwest and Southwest have been declared disaster zone, as you said, is not like saying that the country is divided. That is a fact, and the country is looking at us. But you are giving the impression that it was a kind of saying that is another country and this is one.
No,
now you can continue. Just hold on. Let him continue.
I don't just know whether you can go on. Let me say what I said. That I said that there is no, whether anybody likes it or not. I want to repeat myself. Whether anybody likes it or not, it's a factual truth that there is a movement in the Northwest and Southwest that is fighting to divide the country. That's what I said. And it's a factual truth that can be verified anywhere. What I am saying and what I've been struggling to say that I've been blocked is that the elites from the Northwest and Southwest is not playing its role of carrying the grievances on the ground that has pushed these people to pick guns, that have pushed the crisis to a level it is, to Yaoundé, to the ruling class in Yaoundé. Rather, they are trying to carry the message of Yaoundé to the grassroots, and the people have rebelled. And when there is a rebellion,
They need a strong dialogue between those who stand on the one side and on one side and those who stand on the other side. But unfortunately, we have the impression that political elite, the ruling elite, have organized themselves to go to the ground and try to convince the grassroots, those who are fighting, to believe in the doctrine of Yaoundé, which they have rejected.
Thank you very much.
And that is why
I talk of elites. That's
why I talk of elites who are conscious. The first category of elites that I talk of are those who are fighting for a middle ground. A middle ground in which they listen to those who are on that other side, and they are pushing for federalism because they feel that that federalism will give the autonomy to those on the ground to be able to work as we have seen happen in Canada and other places.
We get you.
But
we get you.
The regime
it's not by force. Don't you see that we don't stop you, you will not stop? There are other people who want to speak.
No, but that's what this is a point I would have long developed, but for your interruptions.
Thank you. You have developed your point. But also, as a point of correction, that the people have rebelled is an overstatement. That there are
there's
fighters.
No rebellion in somewhere.
Listen.
Are you saying there's no rebellion?
No,
the
rebellion is not the people. Are
they not people? Are they animals?
Nah, Kweti has the floor.
I said the people there. And are they not people there?
Don't you see you don't want
the picking of arms by others? The answer is no.
Kweti has the floor. Now, this is the question.
If the population was all against them, they will have long been defeated.
Are you happy? They
will have long been defeated.
Joe, hold on.
Yeah, I agree.
Just hold on. Do you see that you don't let anybody speak? You are the one crying that you don't speak?
No.
You want to monopolize speech? Now the floor is yours.
Yes, please. I want to just
we are moving out of the topic. Your suggestion, what should our elite concretely do? Because they are there, you cannot remove them from where they are. What can the present elite do to solve this problem? That is the question.
That is the question, Joe, but please don't condition me to just jump on to answering that question. I want to go a bit to what Dennis said here that brought that noise on our panel here.
No, are you saying the same thing?
I just want to add some flesh on that.
Yes,
so that,
briefly, answer my question.
The war has engulfed many people down there, most, if not all, because these boys, the Amber boys, live with the people in the community. The community knows them very well. They know where they are exactly. But when the military come, the community does not cooperate. So, but the community cooperates with the Amber boys by informing the Amber boys, for example, that the military is coming. Go on social media, you will see them actually saying the military just passed with 2, 3, 4, 5 trucks.
What solution?
So I'm saying that the solution here is just that we should learn how to speak the truth. They say that this truth shall let us free. Many people don't know what that truth means. Maybe in Cameroon, it's as if when somebody becomes a politician, he becomes a liar. But we have some few cases like my brother Kemler, who is able to speak the truth. My solution, my proposed solution is that we should look at each other, eyeball to eyeball, and then call the ball, that spade is spade, then genuine dialogue. And we need an international mediator too, please. I think this idea should not go without us. We should talk of it. You know, even the Cameroonian law punishes that person. It penalizes you.
Out of what I'm saying.
No, it's a solution. It's a solution.
No, the elite. We are looking at the role of the elite.
The elite can propose to the government that we need to go on to an international, we need to go for an international mediator, because it's been for 4 years that blood has been spilling, Joe. People are suffering.
Where has an international mediator solved the problem of a given country?
So many, please, so many. So I am saying that, please. You are saying of a given country. You are saying of a given country, Joe. No, don't say given country. Here we are talking of 2 separate countries that came together to live as one. So don't say where have they solved the problem of a country.
Don't hold on, please. This is what we have asked so many times over. What was the flag of that country? 1, what was the currency of that country? 2, there are questions we cannot answer.
Which country?
I am not. The 2 countries he's talking about. Now,
one was a protectorate island.
No,
but then, Killian, can you give me the floor, please?
Yes,
because
you have not spoken. Actually, you have not spoken for them.
I want to make a point that for the members of the elite, I would love to group them into 2. Internal and external members of the elite. And when we come to Cameroon as a nation, we cannot ignore the fact that the government of Cameroon organized a major national dialogue, and key issues were resolved in order to forge ahead for the rebuilding of the nation. But that was internal, for the internal elite within Cameroon. Now, there is a factor that is coming from external elite who are in the diaspora. And this factor is that of sponsoring the armed conflict. And because they have not been talked to, and because the forum for them to air their own opinions was given during the major national dialogue, and those of them who, because of fear, felt that if they came to the country they were going to be arrested, they did not come. And as the way forward, the internal elite in Cameroon should be gunning for that possibility of dialoguing with those external elite who are sponsoring this armed conflict.
And also dialoguing with those who are in the country, because that's what we expect. Because I don't think that...
If the external elite, as you said, if they cannot come back, why not think of an international, a neutral milieu where they can meet and discuss this thing out?
That is what we are saying, that for them to meet, it must not necessarily be a third party to come in.
That's not our discussion.
Cameroonians among themselves resolving their issues. And so if a delegation were to leave Cameroon, for instance, and meet somewhere where the fear will be driven away from those external elite, it could be another way forward, because where are they? Why are they sponsoring those in the bushes? Where are the arms coming from? They are those who are scoring the shots. And since we are looking for solution, let us be realistic in that if we are inclusive, the external elite will have to play their role.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Kweti,
yes, please.
Just one question. When you were speaking, you spoke with so much passion that at one point I could not even stop you to redirect. We are discussing. We are not fighting on this set.
For sure.
When you said the population, concurring with what our brother said,
yes, for sure,
is more into the fight, if not the majority, than the most, and you say they cooperate more with the boys.
With the boys, because
now let me ask you this question. Let me ask you.
Remember,
let me ask you this question.
Yes,
you have not. I want to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
Can you distinguish between cooperation through fear and cooperation through deliberate choice?
Okay.
Don't you think that if you don't cooperate because you know what has happened to those who did not cooperate?
Those are the realities.
So by saying...
Those are the realities. We don't know why the guys are operating.
Now, exactly. If you accept, by saying that you have accepted that, that cooperation is not like they like to do it. Simply. Now, we are going to move out of this topic. We started... your last word.
Okay.
Last word, briefly, please.
I just want to say that the cooperation, because of fear, is more on the side of population fearing the military than the guys in the bush.
Yeah, that's
because if it is suspected, suspected that you have any sympathy with the boys in the bush, the consequences are atrocious. Then they as a solution by the elites, we came into this union with a package. That package has been diluted. The day that we start discussing how...
The solution is coming from elsewhere. We are looking at the elite. When you say that, and I want to...
The elite must remind the powers that hold Cameroon that package that was destroyed should be put back on the table.
Exactly.
We are talking of the solution.
We got that.
You've made that point.
You've made that point. Thank you very much. We started.
I think it's the point of the people, the common man.
We started this program.
You are simply complimenting Mr.
We started this program with...
It's okay. He has a right to his opinion.
Please. We started this program with the wind of death that has blown across our country. Within 1 week, we have lost so many. We cited so many of them. And one of these persons is Professor Gervais Mendoze. Professor Gervais Mendoze is the former Director General of CRTV. He also was Minister Delegate and the Ministry of Communication. And 17 years in CRTV, he passed on. And I think we lived what he went through, and he is no more. Beginning with you, Joe, I'm sure that he's the one who signed your recruitment contract in CRTV.
It's such a pathetic situation, Kilian. Professor Gervais Mendoze is the one who recruited us upon the selection test for the recruitment of 15 Anglophones that was organized in June 2003. And he was such a meticulous person. And I would say that without his honesty in public administration especially during the selection test, some of us would not have been there because he said by order of merit. I remember him for that. And I equally remember him when I went to Rwanda sometimes in 2004, and I met the direct general manager of the Rwandan National Radio, who asked if I knew Professor Gervais Mendoze. I said, yes, he is my boss. And he said, oh, he's such a wonderful person. He taught us stylistic at Kigali Institute of Science and Technology, KIST, and that is such a wonderful teacher of the French language. And so those virtues can be multiplied.
Yes.
And since we believe in the will of God, life has a beginning and an end.
Thank you.
And we can only say, rest in peace, Professor, and your good deeds will continue to speak for you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Our hearts go out to the family. May his soul rest in peace. How did you know Professor Mendoze, Roland?
I knew Professor Mendoze as a great singer. He had a wonderful choir, and I loved his songs. He was a manager, and as I usually say, the governance situation did not permit him to actually exploit his potentials and that's his ambitions, and that ended him what he died of.
Yes, Dennis, you are a teacher, a language teacher. He was a linguist. What do you have to say about him?
Well, I knew Professor Gervais Mendoze as an all-powerful, almighty general manager of CRTV. There is no doubt that he had a lot of powers and impact. There is no doubt that he was one of the most faithful servants of the system and the regime. In the standards of Cameroon, he was a successful man. But what reminds me more about him is that no condition is permanent, seeing the way the greater part of the later part of his life that he spent in captivity. And I remembered, it made me think of the justice system in Cameroon, where you can put somebody in prison for 4 years before you sentence him.
Yes, it's pathetic for all of us, given that, as Joel said,
Cause for reawakening.
Yes, cause for reawakening. And he was also a writer. We've not talked about that. We had just yesterday another emblematic figure who passed on. Senator Victor MUKETE, we like Victor Esemengo MUKETE, who by all rights at 103 years also passed on. He is the current sitting senator in Cameroon, and the Cameroonian Senate. He is the oldest member of Parliament, that's National Assembly and the Senate. I will begin with you now.
103 years to me was like too much for somebody to be in active service.
It's God who gives.
And it is the
don't
same
forget
God
that
who
It's
takes.
God who gives life and God who takes life.
He was still walking up.
I did not say he was too old, but I'm saying his output, what he can offer to his pupil at that age was at one moment he realized, because he realized it, and he even appointed his successor. He named his successor when he was still alive. That age was already weighing so much on him, and I think this should be a lesson to most of the ruling class out there, to know that at one time they need to think of renewing some of this. The manning of some of these institutions need to be by younger people. I don't think in Kumba he was the only person who could be a senator, and he's not a poor man. He's the richest man. That's the MUKETE's family. That's the richest in the former British Southern Cameroon.
Thank you very much,
family.
Dennis. What do
he did not know? I think there are many more younger people out there who may need to be senators from that part of the country.
He actually
we have respect for your opinion,
well.
but know that he did not force himself to become a senator.
I remember late Senator von MUKETE, first of all, a very striking individual. The Cameroon standards to have lived for 103 years is very extraordinary. and then to have died in active service at that age is also very extraordinary. And one thing that strikes me so much is late Senator Nfon MUKETE lived the period when we were under Nigeria and the brief period that we had semi-autonomy.
He was Minister of Research and Information at the time from 1958 to 1959.
Good. And he has lived a long period that we united with French Cameroon. And I have the impression, like many others, that he is one of those who feel how the shoe pinches when it comes to the Anglophone problem, seeing his outburst in one of the sessions at the Senate.
Thank you.
Which unfortunately too, after he had to water it down because of enormous pressure.
Yes, thank you.
And I have the impression that
look at time, when you look at our time, yes.
Kilian, I will see Senator Nfon MUKETE as a symbol of national unity, humility, and hard work. National unity because he is somebody who spoke frankly and said the sharing of the national cake was unjust and that they should get back to the drawing table and see how we can mend the broken fence.
Yes,
and that is virtuous.
Thank you very much. There's one word, a man of integrity. That's what he was. If I were to summarize, because I know you have other words to summarize, Nfon MUKETE, Senator Nfon MUKETE. May their souls rest in peace. Thank you very much for watching. I want to thank you, gentlemen. I have Roland Kweti, teacher, expert in governance. Have Dennis Kemlimo. He's an elite from the Southwest region, and he is the National Communications Secretary of the Social Democratic Front Party. Thank you for coming. Senior journalist here, Joe Tiamoncho.
We can join the chorus to say hallelujah if you wish. Ebenezer, this is how far the Lord has taken us, and how far he will still do depends on his will. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Have a nice Sunday.